On this week's Hot List, bad timing. Families mourn after the latest suicide bombing in the same week as a controversial prisoner release. Ramping up, the visitor industry says 2023 will be big despite worrisome new laws. We get the latest from Tourism Minister Sandiaga Uno. And Wedding Parade, how marriage and culture of the president's son made for this spectacular celebration. Hello and welcome. This is Hot Indonesia. I'm Dalton Tanonaka in Jakarta. Let's get to it. My co-hosts, Millie Lukito, CEO of the Mobiliati Group from her home in Jakarta, and Linda Ibrahim, writer and business consultant based in the capital city. Hot topic number one, bad timing. He had been convicted in a previous attack 5 years ago that killed 3 police officers. This time, Agus Sujantno blew himself up, taking one more police life in Bandung last Wednesday. This suicide bombing came on the same day as the release of Umar Patek, one of the 2002 Bali bombers who killed more than 200 people. The government said Umar had, quote, completed the de-radicalization program. Now first, ladies, it was almost certainly a coincidence that both happened on the same day. But Millie, it just brought up all the bad memories.
Bad memories indeed. But as a citizen of Indonesia, unfortunately, I have to express this, that we have an anti-terrorism law, 2002, but I am not clear as to the enforcement strategy of that law and what to do with the perpetrators. And I know that there are still some cells, terrorism cells, that are still active. And I don't know how the police are managing them. And basically, we have to abolish terrorism from Indonesia. Again, I do not know the strategy. And I even can feel that our country's relationship with terrorism is not so clear of where our position is, and that we should not only eradicate them from Indonesia at all, but we should be able to even pre-plan. So we have strategies of how to make them not even have the chance to appear in our country.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the motives and possible solutions. But Millie, are you saying though first that you're a little uneasy that Umar got released?
Yes, because I think he hasn't served full term. His sentence was originally for 20 years, and one has to serve, I think, 80% of the sentence period before getting a chance for parole. And he was only in prison for, less than that, I'm sure.
Yeah. Okay. So the government
decision. I'm questioning the decision on why he's released.
Well, as the government said that he had been rehabilitated, and that's, there are guidelines for that. They're not doing it arbitrary. I hope not. Anyway, the common profiles, as you both know, of suicide bombers are poor men and women, promised passage to eternal salvation. Police have been targets of these previous groups because of crackdowns on extreme religious groups. Linda, authorities have been doing a pretty good job in containing these violent acts since the early 2000s, right?
Depending how you categorize pretty good. We'll argue about that, but I don't think there will be a point because it's a bit subjective. What I'm worried more, actually, Dalton, is along the line of de-radicalization. I've been fortunate to attend a couple of discussions on that with people who are actually doing it. And what I gathered from these discussions, it was closed door, invite-only discussion, when they spoke very frankly, is that what I gathered from them is that there is not yet a science on how to de-radicalize a person or his and her family members. There were activists there who also work with the families, and with them they say it's sometimes you could de-radicalize the families first, but then once they get reacquainted with the former combatant, and it's like going back to square one. So that's the take up. I'm really worried, especially it's almost like proven by what happened in Bandung, right? He had been released, he had been labeled de-radicalized, and look what happened.
Okay, Linda, I guess it's a good point, because this guy in Bandung last week had been convicted and released, and hopefully authorities thought he had been rehabilitated, and that's what the worry is with someone like Umar. Millie, I got to ask you this, and Linda too, every time this happens, every time an incident happens like this, Indonesia is looked at from abroad as a scary place. There's no getting around that. Well, Millie, what does the government have to do to reassure people in and out of this country about relative safety?
I think people from all around the world, including us in Indonesia, we need to know the government's policy, strategy on enforcing the anti-terrorism law. I think this is very important. Yeah, we need to know that they are there and that they manage this well, and they know what to do before everything happens, and also everything post. Post. Let's say this bombing in Bandung. I'm still not clear of what the government is doing post event, because it's only in the form of course, news. And then what can we do to prevent it from happening in the next months or years to come?
Okay, last question, Linda, real quickly. We talked about what to do after. What the job is, the challenge is what to do before. And you mentioned a little bit. Again, I really believe the incidents are fewer and far between than we had previously. What is it that we can do? I mean, I guess education, right? Linda, education of families and before anything happens in the future.
They have to go there. They have to like pre-detect, what could be the next terrorist, and actually go there before they become terrorists. But I don't know the reality of doing that. Like what they say themselves. It's almost like there's no science yet.
Yeah, but you got to try to prevent future incidents, and hopefully that will make some difference, at least deter one out of how many more people are thinking about doing it. Okay, Hot Indo will continue shortly with ramping up. Will 2023 see the return of missing tourists? We ask Tourism Minister Sandiaga Uno.
Hot Indonesia on the Indonesian channel. The programs which I was a co-host before becoming minister is a finalist once again for the best talk show at the ASEAN Television Awards. Best wishes to all nominees.
I love Indonesia. I love the food. Yummy. Wow. I'm gonna hunt for ingredients. Now I'm ready to cook. Let's go to the kitchen. It's done. Let's meet to eat.
Foodiepedia on the Indonesia channel.
is not just one place,
but a collection of memories in many places.
it's where conversations create connections.
And where seasons change, but not a moment is wasted.
Because it's where we live.
And the Ascot lifestyle we have come to love.
Ascot is where we want to be.
Hi, I'm Rory Hugh. You're watching the Indonesia channel, the home of good sport.
I'm Trần Minh Ngân of VCCN Net Việt in Hanoi.
I'm Thairat Thumya of Thailand's Thairat TV in Bangkok.
I'm Monica Sambodet from the National Television of Cambodia in Phnom Penh.
I'm Raymond Go of Malaysia's TV3 in Kuala Lumpur.
I'm Glenda Chong of Singapore's Channel News Asia.
I'm Raisa Chantami of the Indonesia channel at the ASEAN Secretariat in Jakarta.
This is your weekly look into the dynamic Southeast Asia region.
ASEAN Today on the Indonesia channel.
The Best of Bali takes viewers on a special guided tour to the treasures of the island of the gods.
Well, the romantic dinner is beautiful.
The Best of Bali, only on the Indonesia channel.
You are watching Hot Indonesia with Millie, Linda, and me. Here's hot topic number 2, ramping up. If you've been to Bali or Yogyakarta lately, you've seen the beginning of the return of international visitors with relaxed COVID-19 protocols. Travelers are feeling more comfortable in visiting destinations again, always among the best in global surveys. The government says it is projecting 2 times the arrivals in 2023 from this year, up to as much as 7.4 million. In the year before the pandemic hit, Indonesia had more than 16 million foreign visitors. Sandiaga Uno is the Minister of Tourism and Creative Economy. He joins us now from Jakarta. Thank you, sir, for joining us as always. You're a busy guy. Rebuilding the industry is underway. I know you, as I just said, you've been busy traveling and doing what you need to do. Is infrastructure, hotels, flights, everything in place and ready to meet the demand?
Are we ready for post-COVID traffic? The answer is that we are preparing 5 super priority destinations to support Bali as the next stop for tourists to come in. The infrastructure that is being built has cost the government around 30 to 40 billion US dollar already, building the super priority destinations of Lake Toba, Borobudur, Mandalika, also Labuan Bajo and Likupang. We are shifting, Dalton, from mass tourism to quality tourism, focusing on nature and culture. And we are also underlining the sustainability part of the tourism. So the infrastructure is there. However, we need to change the mindset of people in terms of how they would visit areas of tourist attractions in a sustainable manner. So we're not going to focus only on the quantity, but also on the experience.
Okay, Minister, ladies have some questions. They're jumping to get here. But real quickly, as I said earlier, recovery was ramping up. Then last week, a new set of laws passed in Parliament, including one that got global headlines. I know you know what we're talking about. We talked about this subject to death last week, and we kind of cleared it up. But how misunderstood was that law about no sex before marriage?
Huge misunderstanding, but I would like to report here, and this is breaking at Hot Indonesia, that as of close of business yesterday, there is no major cancellations from our major markets of Australia, Singapore, Malaysia, India, US, and UK. These are our top 5 major markets, and we're watching this closely. We have a team on the ground fielding questions from travel agents, from tour operators, would-be travelers. In fact, Australia, we have tickets, basically the available flights all fully booked until end of February. So in terms of numbers, we have not seen the reported cancellation, but in terms of the narratives out there, in terms of the disinformations and probably misunderstanding, it is something that the Indonesian government would like to address more, I would say, aggressively, because we are guaranteeing that the private space of the visitors would be guaranteed. And we are rolling out red carpet for all international tourists. In fact, the president himself on the cabinet meeting said that I want more foreign tourist arrival, and we need to strengthen our coordinations and collaborations with relevant stakeholders. So this is something completely not the intentions of the new law. And this is something that I guess we need to ensure the tourists' comfort, security, privacy, while they're enjoying the beauty of the country and the wonderful Indonesia will be strictly protected and honored and respected.
The impact was the fear of what it would do, outside of this country. Okay, Linda, question for Minister Sandy, please.
Pak Sandy, one big thing that has not changed much is infrastructure for tourists and just general infrastructure around tourist destinations. Can you tell us what have you worked with the Ministry of Public Works or local governments to remedy the situation?
We are working within the specific mandate until 2024 to put up this 30 to 40 billion US dollars worth of infrastructures, not only in major tourist destinations in Bali with the preparations of G20, but also in 5 super priority destinations. In total, these are being made in terms of roads, infrastructure development, regional planning, clean water, sanitation provisions, homestay development, ports, also waste management. And then we also have the land, sea, and air connectivity, as well as, and very important now, digital coverage, because people want to visit sites and they want to take pictures, videos, and they would like to broadcast right away.
Millie, question for Sandy?
Yes, Pak Menteri, I would like to ask, many of our international based readers and clients, they all ask me about healthcare situation. Healthcare as in, let's say if someone gets injured or needs emergency room, let's say in those touristic area that the government is developing, how are they going to find a good hospital in those areas? We know that the government has signed a collaboration with Mayo Clinic and going to develop an international level hospitals in Bali. But how about in other touristic areas that the government is, let's say, what if they are injured in Papua and then, or in Kupang, even Labuan Bajo, So many questions are asked to me about this. Perhaps you can enlighten us.
11 billion US dollars per year have been spent by Indonesians getting medical treatment abroad. And this is something that we want to change, and that's why we're also putting a lot of resources in terms of making sure we have health care being available, not only in tourist destinations, but also across major economic centers and most populated areas. So you mentioned special economic zones that is being built in Sanur. We're also making sure we will have international standard hospitals in Lake Toba, and that's already in operations. Also in Borobudur. In Labuan Bajo, we have privately run international standard hospitals, also in Likupang in North Sulawesi. So the tourists' safety, also their health, and we are focusing on cleanliness and environmental sustainability for their comfort, security is being ensured. And we're deploying a lot of collaborations with doctors across Indonesia to make sure that we promote, we educate, and we communicate that we have the health standard in various tourist destinations. I guess we need to say that wonderful Indonesia wants you to always feel safe while you're visiting Indonesia. And therefore, not only your privacy is our utmost priority, but your serenity, your spirituality, and sustainability will be enjoyed in wonderful Indonesia in the fullest.
Sandiaga Uno, I know you're a busy man. You just came from overseas. I don't know where you're heading this week or this week, a weekend. But anyway, thank you very much for joining us as always. Minister of Tourism and Creative Economy, thank you very much, sir. More Hot Indo is ahead. Wedding Parade, how love and culture resulted in this presidential pageant.
Produk lokal memang handal, kreasi lokal memang spesial. Ayo beli buatan negeri, bangga sekali produk sendiri. Dari busana sampai kria, kuliner juga buatan kita. Ayo beli kreatif lokal, marilah beli produk kreatif lokal. Pejuang negeri, beli kreatif lokal, banggalah beli produk kreatif lokal.
Hello, this is Anggun and you're watching the Indonesia channel, hot programs, cool people.
I'm Caitlin Turner, and welcome to Yoga Bliss. Exhale, reaching down to triangle pose. Roll your knee out and up to the sky, breathing here.
Yoga Bliss, only on the Indonesia channel. This is the Indonesia Channel.
You are watching iPop Playlist.
iPop on the Indonesia Channel.
You're watching Hot Indonesia from Jakarta. Hot topic number 3, wedding parade. The marriage of the youngest son of President Joko Widodo this past weekend was spectacular. Kaesang Pangarep and Erina Gudono were part of a celebration that went beyond love. As the father of the groom said, also displaying rich Javanese culture is an obligation at an event like this. Ladies, I'd say this is as colorful or even more so than the British royal wedding, in my opinion. Millie, does the public like this kind of celebrating?
Of course. This is seen as maybe similar to royal weddings. Yeah, so of course we love it. I love it. I was invited, but I couldn't go because I was not well. But from our photographers, they sent me pictures. Oh, it looks so fun. Yes.
Yeah, there are many parts to it. And Linda, briefly, can you explain kind of the different segments real briefly, like starting here, greeting the parents, and then here, and then where did it ended up?
It all started with the recital of the Quran, pengajian, in which the evening before that, they had to put up at the house of the bride's parents, they had to put up the tent. So put up the tent, pengajian, and then there will be the bridal shower. Literally in Indonesian, it will be, holy water poured over the future.
Different kind of bridal shower than in the States.
Yeah. Yeah, so pasang belah KTP, pengajian, and then a bridal shower, and then you have the akad nikah, the actual marriage exchange of the vows, and then you have the receptions, and they had 3 receptions, if I'm not mistaken. There was a reception immediately after the exchanging of the vow, and then they moved. That was in Jogja, the bride's seat, and then they moved to Solo, the groom's seat. And the family of the groom, it's called ngunduh mantu in Javanese, in which the groom's family receiving the new daughter-in-law. They had actually 2 receptions. I think the one during the day and the one during the evening. That's more than the normal, because usually the ngunduh mantu is only one, and it's actually usually smaller, because in Indonesian traditions, it's the bride's family saying farewell to their daughters, so their parties usually are bigger than the ngunduh mantu. But in this case, because the parents of the groom is the president, so they got bigger reception, and they even had 2. But I want the viewers to understand that's usually not the case.
Okay, what about the public side? Is it usual to have a parade like that?
No. And I have to say, for someone who actually comes, my mother is from Solo, and my late grandfather worked within the palace walls. So what they did is that they utilized some of the palace infrastructure, and which created some questions, among people who knew, because they're not related to the royal family.
But he's the president.
Yeah, but even
they are royal in a way.
But if I must say, Suharto's late wife, Ibu Tin, was she actually had a little bit of a Mangkunegaran blood, but none of the Suharto's children got married within Mangkunegaran. So I'm gonna leave it at that to let the viewers surmise yourselves.
Linda, I know you would be practical in this, but
right.
In these times of whatever turmoil, the topics we talked about even today, it's nice to have something like this.
Yes, and I think they could have still had the biggest wedding ever outside the palace walls. They could have, because they had infrastructure for that.
Thank you for bringing us down to reality, Linda, as always. It is feedback time now, and Sang had this to say about budget carrier Lion Air topping a worst service survey. You get what you pay for is still true in many ways. And regarding the new law banning sex outside of marriage if family members make a report, Dea says every country has its own set of rules. Those who enter need to abide by these laws. Here's how to contact us with your feedback. Email at hotindo@theindonesiachannel.com or comment through our Hot Indonesia or Indonesia channel, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube pages. Final words, Millie.
Well, Christmas is upon us, and I'm such a big sucker of rom-com, romantic comedy, Christmas-themed movies. So I'm going to spend all my holidays just, watching Christmas movies. I'm happy. Happiness is simple, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Final words, Linda.
One very good thing I like from Kaesang and Erina's wedding was the usage of local heritage cultures, and I encourage future brides and grooms to go back to your roots and do what they did. Use your own heritage and wear the heritage costume.
And my final words, on a recent trip to the U.S., a friend drove 4 hours to see me. We hadn't met in some time, in 20 years in fact, and he had driven that far just to tell me that he had just been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease and didn't know how soon serious symptoms would develop. He said he just wanted to come and thank me for our friendship. Thank you, Brian. I appreciate that. And that is Hot Indonesia for this week. For Linda Ibrahim and Millie Luquito, I'm Dalton Tanonaka. Thank you very much for joining us. Please join us again next time.